Another blow for the Sussexes today, as Meghan is accused of having faked interviews on her Axed podcast. It's been a bad week for the couple. First, it was revealed their £15 million deal with Spotify was terminated by mutual agreement. Then, one of the company's executives slammed them as grifters. I think it was something else grifters. Meghan spoke to several high-profile guests on Archetypes, like Mindy Kaling, Mariah Carey, Serena Williams. But sources claim that some interviews on the show were done by other staffers, with Meghan's questions edited in afterwards. Similar allegations surfaced last year when a guest, Alison Yarrow, a journalist from New York, revealed her interview had taken place with an audio producer. I mean, look, this is kind of pile-on Meghan time. I mean, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not surprised that the Spotify deal has gone. It was crazy money. Even if they were getting the great clicks and it was going up the charts, it wasn't worth the amount that they were paying. And also, I mean, a few months ago, if not longer, on this show, to aghast panellists, I referred to Harry and Meghan as grifters. I didn't use the F-bomb. But I think that here's a problem. We're now looking, and people are looking for reasons as to why. But I think if you want to do a really good podcast, if you start editing in too much stuff and you're not doing the interview and you're not getting the interaction, I think that's the problem. Whether or not she had received advice that was really not a good thing to do, I don't actually care whether she did or didn't. I just think that from an authenticity point of view, when I was listening to the podcast, it just sounds all a little bit fake and too overdone. As opposed to, I just want conversations, and that's not what she did.
I think we need a little bit of context with this particular podcast. So, Meghan did the interviews with your main guests, so your Paris Hiltons and your Mariah Careys and your Serena Williams.
The stars.
Yeah, exactly. And then she would maybe have like an expert, a psychologist, or a professor or someone like that. And those interviews were popped in and they were done by audio producers. And, you know, when she won awards for the podcast, she thanked them for doing that. It was never really a secret. There's some parts of the podcast, of the, you know, Hour of Archetypes, were done by other people and slotted in. So I think this actually is just a bit of the pylon. It's not really a story. It's a non-starter.
No, but it is a story because they didn't get paid really millions of pounds. If you want an audio producer to do a podcast, you're not going to offer them $20 million, are you?
Well,
so the reason they offer them the money is because they want them to do the work and they won't expect them to do what they say they're going to do, which is to interview people.
But they weren't.
If you're not going to do it, then you shouldn't be taking the money.
They weren't the conversation parts of the podcast, as Sophia's just said. There was the conversation. There was a sit down with the stars, and then it would cut in between sort of sound bites from different people, like experts commenting on the issues that they were discussing.
Yeah, but they made it sound as if, though, that this conversation was between her and those people. And I don't think...
Did they?
I don't think they did. Did you listen to them all?
I've listened to some of them, and that was enough.
Did you listen to them all?
Not all, no. I mean,
Mine?
I listened to Serena
Me and
Williams.
Sophia did it.
I listened to 3 of them, and my ears were bleeding by the end.
So there's 2
of
people
them.
here who have listened to all of them and didn't feel like it came across as faked. Also, I would argue...
Do you think she's a grifter?
No. Well, what's your definition of grifter?
So my grifter is somebody who's just like a little bit lazy, leaves it to other people to do stuff. Didn't work as hard as they could have done.
So it's absolutely industry standard within podcasting to, if people's schedules are particularly conflicting, and these were experts she was speaking to, also people who lived and worked around the world. If there's a schedule clash, you absolutely do get an audio producer to get the soundbite.
I've never done that.
I have. I've done it as an interviewee,
Hang on,
and I've done it as an interviewer.
Then you're a grifter.
If you're earning, what was it, 18 million quid for this?
But she didn't get that because they cancelled the deal.
Whatever it was.
Spotify obviously agree with us and don't agree with you. So they cancelled the deal.
They only did 12 episodes.
They also did it with the Obamas.
I'm sorry, it's a multi-million-pound deal. If you should be doing every single moment. Their schedules clash. Some therapist in Silicon Valley, I'm sorry, I can't make it today, so the audio producer, no. You were paid millions of pounds to do a podcast, do the podcast.
Nicola,
and by the way,
giving you $20 million.
I don't have a massive problem with it, but just fess up and say it.
Yeah, but Nicola, we're going to give you $20 million. Are you going to do every single aspect of that podcast? Yes, of course you are. You will clear your schedule.
She's not got $20 million because they cancelled the deal.
The trouble is, you know, and I know you think this is unfair on her, but I think she brings it on herself. You know, they do bring it on themselves. You know, they say, oh, we haven't got anything else to say, and then 2 weeks later it comes out that Spotify have cancelled the deal. And you go, oh, so you were trying to spin that one as well.
It's not the only deal that they've cancelled,
No,
they've also cancelled the deal with the Obamas. And if you can't make something work with the Obamas, I would argue, what can you make work?
Well, that's the problem. The problem is not with Spotify.
The thought police. You
the
can
thought
make the thought police
Listen, I've been
work.
in the podcast charts for about the best part of the last 10 years. I've never asked anybody to do anything for me. I've never asked anybody to record
But
something
your
because I'm so
podcast
busy.
isn't overly produced. Your podcast is more
quite
basically a live
simple, yeah,
conversation.
It's called a
whereas-
popular podcast, which keeps getting renewed by the people that run it, as
Yeah, yeah.
opposed to the ones that
Where's
are not
your 15
popular.
mil?
It's
where
a different
people,
format,
where people
though.
clank,
Mike,
where
it's
people,
different format.
It's a
where
different format.
people cling on.
It's like this
to
TV show
celebrity.
versus a pre-record. It's live versus pre-recorded.
Okay, I'll play a bit of a trump card here. I run a production company that makes podcasts
Right.
and nothing else.
If you hired me to do,
we've never
if you
once-
hired me to do a
Excellent work.
podcast,
Correct,
would you
yes.
be all right if I just sent somebody in to do it instead?
Exactly. I'd say, Mike, I love you to bits,
Yeah.
mate. I've known you for years,
Yeah.
but unfortunately we won't be able to continue.
Exactly.
You wouldn't dare offer that situation.
No, of course not.
No.
It's unprofessional.
We've worked together on
It's
this.
unprofessional.
And you
Can
wouldn't
You
do
also
it.
host your own radio show. I'm presuming you have producers who work on
They
stories
don't
for
do the
you.
interviews
They don't
for
come
you.
in and interview people.
Can I,
Mike and I
Oh,
interview
I've
about
heard.
20 people a day.
can I move us away from the grifters
Yes.
and onto the real hard-working
The
royals?
drifters.
The drifters, maybe.
Yeah,
the royal family, they were hard at work today. So King Charles, Queen Camilla, they heralded a new era at Royal Ascot, where they attended the sporting event for the first time in the new roles. His Majesty is expected to attend every day of this year's meeting in honour of his mother's love of racing. So I don't know whether it's that or alternative. There's a lot of fizz that's served at Royal Ascot. Lovely. Meanwhile, Princess of Wales chatting all things out with who else but Sir Paul McCartney. Yes, she went to the reopening of the National Portrait Gallery. So there's a Beatles exhibition, which I have to say looks fascinating. So it's a look into 1963 and 1964 through the lens of Sir Paul. So he took all these pictures of what it was like to go from relative obscurity to utter, worldwide mayhem. And it's an exhibition, and it's to mark the opening of the refurbished National Portrait Gallery, which I think will be a fascinating exhibition. And she was there. And Prince William, so he's been out and about. He's visited the Lionesses at their Burton-on-Trent training ground. And, of course, he's been president of the FA since 2006. So there he is doing some football things.
Lovely.
There.
Very busy day for
So
them.
very busy day for them. But the thing is that here we are. What's the first story we talk about? We talk about the grifters first, and then we talk about all the hard workers later.
Well, the hard workers just going to visit things and watch horse races and have nice drinks and go to galleries.
it's not easy to play table
It's more than the
football.
grifters did today.
Right,
All they did was
okay.
get up and ring a
Well,
few
they
people
work
and say,
for
can we have some
charity.
free deal
Well,
gear?
they work for
to
What's
be
going on?
honest, to be honest, Mike, you don't know what they did today, but we do know
hazarding a guess.
what the King did today and Camilla did today, and
Yes,
the Prince and
they were
the
working.
Prince and Princess of Wales.
The
I mean,
grifters were grifting.
but they
Okay,
are
define
the
work,
new-
James. Define work for me right now.
So, well, work can be lots of things to lots of people, but if you have a role, then you perform that role, don't you? I mean, in the same way that a lot of people
Doing
look at this
something for
and
which
say,
you get
hang
paid,
on a
that's
second,
work,
you
right?
get
They
you
don't
get
get paid for
paid.
it.
Yeah, they do.
The royal family, the King doesn't get paid for what he
Of course
does.
he does.
Well, he does. Of course he does.
Well, has he got a
Of course he does. He's in receipt of the royal money, isn't he?
$22.50 an hour, that's right.
But in the same way that a lot of people
where
would look at
it's
us and say, you cannot seriously believe that 5 of you sat on, the sort of chat that we might have at the pub.
I'm
you
getting
get
paid. I don't know about you, James. I'm certainly
No,
getting
they still
paid.
don't pay James.
Oh, do they not? Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. So, but the
Thanks
question
for
is,
the
what is the job? We all do different things. And I think the point is that Harry and Meghan have kind of forgotten that if you leave an institution that is a job and then you go and do other things, look, they've basically created themselves a role by taking a lot of money from what they were. And fine, I get it. I understand the pressures and I understand why they left. I'm disappointed with what they've done with it because I think they had a huge opportunity to do a lot more and they haven't.
Do you not
I
think a
agree
lot
with
of that
that.
was to do with the fact that the entire world media seems to be gunning against them?
No.
Well, no, everywhere they go, people end up gunning against them. I wonder why that could be. Is it just because they don't do what they say they're
Or
going
is
to
it
do?
because they
is
got
it because they're
a
disingenuous?
Or is it-
Is it because
You
they're
should hear-
disingenuous?
Or is it because actually people get whipped into a frenzy about
Oh, yeah.
two people that they don't know and don't know what they do in their day to day and get really, really obsessed with them? Is
so
that
everyone that
perhaps
comes
why?
into contact with them ends up being disappointed in what they do?
No, not everyone.
everyone.
Not every
Just
single
the people you
person.
listen to.
I think
Not
it's, I
every
think
single
it's
person.
I don't know
a
who's-
reaction
I don't know
to
who's impressed
behaviours.
with it.
However, we must stop that conversation there because coming up, a water company is reviewing if men at work, those signs, are they sexist? Customers have slammed the organisation for worrying about woke issues when they just want their water sorted. That's next on The Talk.